Hey guys, some of you may have seen there is a new hero fusion event coming up. So if we go to the notice and we head to the event notice, you can see a shard summon calendar for Aeon. She is an epic lord for the Curse faction and a pretty great faction lord to have. So first we'll have a look at Aeon and then we'll quickly go over the calendar and some things to keep in mind and to watch out for, maybe prepare for. So this is Aeon, pretty cool character design. Another mage to get. She can target behind her, and as you can see, she's focused on control and debuffs. She can attack 2 extra basic targets, so hitting 3 enemies at a time. Magic attack damage. Manual ultimate lasts for 4 seconds, which can obviously increase with skill ups. Seems to go up to 8 seconds. It affects a pretty big slow, and it pulls people in. So some nice CC there. And she has a passive, which means that all of her skills, her basic and her ult, will inflict 2 very good debuffs on enemies, which will, from the looks of it, take the physical and magic vulnerability up to 20%. So pretty good in general. She has ways of CCing people, slowing them, and applying very, very helpful debuffs. So nice there. And for her awakenings very quickly, you can see that it increases the force pulling people and the duration. It extends the duration of the debuffs applied, and she deals more damage to control targets. However, the main reason Aeon is quite a powerful hero to get, and one that I'm going to really look to get from this event, is because she is a Curse Epic Lord. Now what this means is you get 10% stat boost, which is always nice, but it's this one that is the strongest. Faction team members deal 30% increased damage to slowed, stunned, frozen, and immobilized enemies. 30% is a lot of bonus damage, up from 15% from Nero's faction lead. So Aeon for me will be really nice. I actually use Nero's faction lead a lot in a lot of different places. The faction lord benefits he grant. It's only 15% versus 30, but still 15% is a lot of damage increase. So you can imagine that Aeon's 5% extra stats and 15% extra damage is going to be great. The Cursed faction lords grant very, very powerful benefits. I definitely think it's one of the strongest factions in terms of the benefits that are granted. If you do not have Morrigan or Aeon already, then you definitely want to go for this event. She's already out, so we already know that she is good. You may not even want to place her. She could be your 9th or 10th hero in the roster, but having this benefit in your Curse team for AoE runs, especially Gear Raid 1, for the basic trial as well, should be great. And yeah, just generally any AoE content, she is going to be very, very good. So you could use her as well in your arena teams for the group days. So that's where you can use her. That's why she's useful. It's just for this massive bonus. If you look at the heroes in this faction, you have Zealous, you have Captain Reeve, you have, of course, Morrigan, but she is her own lord. You have Vienna especially, you have Cerberus, and you have Greed, and you have Iona as well, a very good epic mage. So there's just a whole bunch of really good AoE in the Curse faction. That's obviously what they're for, and this bonus is very, very powerful, so well worth going for. So that's very quickly on Iona. Now we will go over the calendar. We'll talk a little bit about the events that are coming up and what to keep in mind. One thing to mention that may have confused some players, this was visible too early. I think there was a mistake and it was put into the game too early. If you read the event announcement, it does say from the 20th of January to the 5th of February, so it isn't up just yet. This event will go live next Friday, or the coming Friday after this video is released. So we have a bit of time to prepare. So with that, let's go over the calendar. And as you can see, first off, it takes 75 to summon her, and in total we have 90 available from the events, which is the top section here, and we have another 60 available from the Oracle's trials down here. Bear in mind, those 60 do not include the rewards for coming first to third place. As part of the update yesterday, I believe it actually extends the rewards to 4th and 5th place, though we don't know how that actually affects summon events, but it would be very nice if we got some shards from that, but I wouldn't hold your breath. But it would be interesting to see, maybe you can get shards in 4th or 5th place as well, though unlikely. So with that, we can get 150 shards if you get every available event here. So that's 2 summons, which is quite nice. As we saw, her awakenings are quite good, though definitely not vital, so don't sweat it if you're not that interested. And also, seeing as there are, what, 1, 2, 3, 7 Oracle's Trials events up, then if you go 7 by, what, 15, I believe is the most you can get from coming first place. That's a hell of a lot of shards extra. You can probably get her to like awaken 2 or 3 just out of this event alone. So yeah, great event. Personally, I recommend absolutely try to get her at least once. Epic Lords are very hard to come by. If you are new to the game, definitely try to get her. It's going to be well worth the effort. It's very hard to summon these guys. It feels like they are reduced rate in the summoning pool. People do get them, but it is definitely rarer, so absolutely try to get Aeon. And with that, let's have a look at the events. So starting things off, we have Corridor of Glory. Corridor of Glory is an event requiring leveling up, starring up, and promoting heroes. You have it at the first 4 days of the event as well as the last 4 days, offering 15 shards each for a total of 30 out of the 75 goal, so nearly halfway just from these 2 events alone. These should be very easy to do, quite simple events really, but maybe consider saving some of your upgrades, some of the heroes you want to promote, save some materials maybe to level up fodder, and that will help you a lot with these events, but they shouldn't be too hard either way. After that, we have Brave Conquest times 3, each time lasting for 4 days, pretty much continuing through the whole event with only 1 day breaks at the beginning, middle, and end, and 2 at the end. And this is only worth 15 shards, so not a great deal of reward there, but also quite easy to do. Brave Conquest just requires that you do gear raids as well as artifact fragment raids. Typically, artifact fragment raid gives you the most reward for your stamina, and it's very easy to clear these events using that method, but not a lot of shards, so not the most important, but should be quite easy to do. Next then we have Tales of the Smith. This requires you upgrading gear. This is very tricky in my opinion because it requires so much gold. Typically I like to have 5 million gold ready and I need a bunch of gear to upgrade. You really want to be upgrading gear to level 12. You get points towards this event at the milestone levels of 4, 8, 12 and 16, with significantly more points awarded at 12 and at 16, but 16 is just so expensive that you're better off upgrading gear to 12 for this. You can, however, leave gear at 15 if you want to try to get some extra points from the 16, but it is still very expensive, and we only have a 3-day gap in between these. I find Tales of the Smith quite hard to do personally just because of how expensive it is. I would definitely recommend picking up the 2x gold booster from the Dwarven Association in the guild shop. You can see it's here for 450 coins. Kind of expensive if you're saving for the legendary crystals like I am, but it's kind of necessary to win some of these events. You might not necessarily have to win these events. It's nice to get the extra shards. There are 2 of them worth 10 shards each, which is 20, which is a notable amount. So yeah, definitely save up some gold in advance of this. Maybe save up some gear as well if you want to make it easier for yourself in future. That's another 20 shards as well. So next up we have Duel of Champions. This will require you to win 5 arena matches a day for 4 days, each win granting 10 points, 50 points a day, 200 points required to win the event outright. As you can see, this event is currently ongoing. So you can see Duel of Champions here. I've lost 1 match. It only gives you 1 point if you lose. You need 200 points to get to the end. And we'll have to see where they put the shard reward. Sometimes they put it at 190, sometimes at 200. This event generally seems quite easy and quite nice to do, so they'll probably leave it earlier than 200, which will be nice. But if you want to make sure that you have your best chance of winning this event, then you should check the idle rewards, and you note you get 2 arena permits, the 90-minute of activity time. Say you have 4 permits left at the end of the day. On reset, it will keep the 1 excess after 3. You get 3 on reset, so it refreshes the 3 you already have, and it keeps the excess. So if you have 4, you have 4. If you have 5, you have 5. It doesn't give you 3 extra. It just keeps your excess. So a really good way of making sure that you have lots of extra permits is not to do arenas for a few days before those events land. Give it 3 days and you'll get 6 extra permit attacks, and that should be enough to help you win the event. Gives you 6 opportunities to fail without losing the event. Burn all of your saved on the first day, of course. If you have any hanging over, you'll lose out to the refresh amount, and that should help a lot winning the Duel of Champions, even though it is only worth 5 shards, so it's not the most important, but it's not too hard to do if you give yourself a bit of prep time. And finally, from the event section, we have Spiritual Altar. This requires you to do a whole bunch of summoning. It is worth 20 shards, which is quite a bit, but I'm glad it's not worth a crazy amount more. The previous legendary summons we had, it required a lot of work in the Spiritual Altar. Only 20 this time, so that's not too bad. And the reason why I want it to be worth less is because it's so hard to achieve this as a free-to-play player. If you're free to play, especially if you're early and you don't have a massive stockpile of summons, you can just assume you're not getting any of these shards. Typically, the Spiritual Altar is one of the hardest events in the game. I think you need around 4 or 5 legendary summon pools. I think each one's worth like 500 points to be able to get the first shard if it's as it has been in the past. So Spiritual Altar is definitely one of the hardest events to try to get the shards from. You can just assume that these 20 are gone and you're not getting them. And that's fine still, because with the potential of 150 up for grabs plus pole position rewards from the Oracle's Trials, we have plenty of shards to play with. Assume you can get the rest of these and you can get the base rewards from the Oracle's Trials, you will still have 130 out of 75 shards needed, so not a problem there. So from the event section, Corridor of Glory should be quite easy, Brave Conquest should be very easy, Tales of the Smith could be quite tricky, Duel of Champions can be tricky if you don't save up for a few days in advance, and Spiritual Altar is basically not going to happen, but that's okay. So moving on to the Oracle's Trial, we have Arrival of Heroes twice for 3 days at the start and at the end, worth 15 shards each for a total of 30. This is similar to Spiritual Altar, although much easier to get the rewards from. I don't remember the exact structure of the shards. I think it's in 2 allotments, so you should at least be able to get the first amount, which is probably 5 shards. But it can be a little bit tricky to get the end amount if you're not pulling legendaries, if you're unlucky on that summoning weekend, but definitely save your summons for the coming weekend if you want to increase your odds of getting the Arrival of Heroes. I think Spiritual Altar is just too hard, so if you're going to save for summon days, make it for the first weekend and the last weekend, 20th of January to the 22nd, and the 3rd of February to the 5th of February. I think those are the best summon windows. Personally, I would just abandon the Spiritual Altar altogether. After that, we have the Forgotten Palace, which I believe is gear raid free, which should be quite easy, only 5 shards for all 4 of these. Mystery of Artifacts is Artifact Fragment Raid, again super easy. Lost Legacy I believe is Gear Raid 1, and Vault in the Sands is Gear Raid 2, so 20 shards from that. Awakening of Heroes is just another kind of Corridor of Glory type event, so you have to hit it 3 times. We'll be upgrading heroes, promoting them, starring them up, etc. Again, should be quite easy to hit. Oracle's Trials to get the contribution rewards tend to be quite easy. I think only the Arrival of Heroes will be a little bit tricky potentially if you don't have a lot of summons saved up. So I think it should be very easy to get the majority of the rewards from that. And of course, I recommend trying to poll top 3 quite early if you can, just to give yourself a bit of space. Win 5 to 10 shards, maybe 15 at first place sometimes, and it gives you a bit of extra breathing room later on in the event. Personally, I'm going to be trying really hard to get Aeon. I don't care too much about getting dupes. Her awakenings are good, but nothing insane. I just want her Lord benefit to make my Vienna go crazy in Gear Raid 1. I'm hoping with Aeon, maybe I'll have a chance at Gear Raid 120, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll have a video in future. So that pretty much covers it for the event guide for Aeon. I think she's a really good hero to pull, so I wish you all luck getting her. And it seems to be quite a nice, easy, cozy one. I don't think you have to worry about sweating this too much. I think we should be quite safe and easy to do this without too much work. So, good luck with the event next week, and I'll see you then. Take care, guys, and bye-bye.